It's so squeezable.
Okay, recording is in progress. Recording is in progress.
My cousins gave me this. It's so squeezable.
Okay, recording is in progress. Recording is in progress.
You have a loop of some kind.
Okay, we're hearing both. So I'm all right. There we go.
All right.
It is 7:02. And we've got so much to do. So I'm going to say, welcome, 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 welcome to this special edition of the Speculative Sundays Poetry Reading Series for Black Poetry Day. We are live on Facebook via Zoom. I am Akua Lezli Hope, speaking to you from the ancestral land of the Onondaga, also known as the Seneca, keepers of the Western Door in the Southern Finger Lakes region of New York State. I pay homage to the Seneca, past, present, and future, and to my own ancestors, by whose grace I exist and am sustained. This event is funded in part by poets and writers with public funds from the New York State Council on the Arts, with the support of the New York State Legislature. This reading is being recorded, so if you have concerns, remove your image, but not to the 4 people you see around me, because I'm being joined by poets Linda Addison, Jacqueline Johnson, and Miguel Mitchell, who I'll introduce more extensively later. Established in 1970, Black Poetry Day celebrates the advent of poetry by Black poets in America, with the birth of Jupiter Hammon, America's first published Black poet, born on October 17, 1711, 313 years ago, at the Lloyd Manor in Queens Village, Long Island, New York. Jupiter Hammon served 3 generations of the Lloyd family, his enslavers. Long Island, Queens, was a hub of the Atlantic slave trade, with one of the largest slave populations in the North during the 17th and 18th centuries. The chain of events that gets us to now begins with colonial America's enslavement of Africans for free labor. Jupiter Hammon composed his first published work, an 88-line poem entitled An Evening Thought, Salvation by Christ with Penitential Cries on Christmas Day, 1760. In 2013, an unpublished work of Jupiter Hammon's was discovered, entitled An Essay on Slavery. It was written about the same time as his more famous Address to the Negroes in the State of New York. While most of his poems convey a subtle resistance to slavery, in this poem, the 2013 one, the unpublished one, he defines slavery as a sin for the first time and defies the idea that you can have slavery and be a Christian at the same time. It's possible Hammon was concerned with maintaining his rapport with his readers and the Lloyd family, and so decided not to publish this potentially inflammatory poem. The poem begins with a direct reference to the middle passage and offers the comforts of Christianity amidst the toil and oppression of slavery. I'll read some excerpts. An essay on slavery with justification to divine providence that God rules over all things. 1. Our forefathers came from Africa, tossed over the raging main, to a Christian shore therefore to stay and not return again. 2. Dark and dismal was the day when slavery began. All humble thoughts were put away. Then slaves were made by man. 4. Come, let us join with one consent, with humble hearts, and say, for every sin we must repent and walk in wisdom's way. 6. Come, blessed Jesus, in thy love, and hear thy children cry, and send them smiles now from above, and grant them liberty. The same year he wrote this poem, 1786, at the age of 76. Jupiter Hammon attended the inaugural meeting in New York City of the African Society. 1786, the African Society, presenting his address to Negroes of the state of New York. He shared the disappointment that the birth of the new nation had not abolished slavery. Though Jupiter Hammon was a privileged slave with the Lloyd family, he was still enslaved. He said, if we should ever get to heaven, we shall find nobody to reproach us for being Black or for being slaves. He stressed that African Americans should maintain high moral standards since, quote, being slaves on earth had already secured their place in heaven. Jupiter Hammon died in 1806 at the age of 95. He was buried in an unmarked grave. All praises to this ancestor. All praises to our stalwart ancestors. Linda D. Addison, award-winning author of 5 collections, including How to Recognize a Demon Has Become Your Friend, is a recipient of the Horror Writers Association Lifetime Achievement Award. She's a Horror Writers Association Mentor of the Year and is a Science Fiction and Fantasy Association Grand Master of Fantastic Poetry. Find her in Blood Games, a vampire anthology, Playlist of the Damned, Weird Tales, 100 Years of Weird, Enter Boogeyman, Folk Horror, and Bestiary of Blood, as well as Everything Endless, her poetry collaboration with Jamal Hodge. Welcome, Linda.
Hi. Oh my gosh. I could listen to you sing poetry all day and night. I really could. Thank you so much. Delighted to be here. So I'm going to read 2 poems. And the first, in this run through, the first one's called Seed of Power. And I wanted you to see, it's a concrete poem, so it's shaped like a seed. And they did a beautiful job of creating it in the Book of Witches Anthology, which came out in 2023, edited by Jonathan Strahan. Seed of Power. We've been called many things: goddess, visionary, healer, sorceress, conjurer, enchanter, vixen, harlot, slut, hag, nasty. Knowing birth is death is rebirth, I can grow life within a body pushed from my body. Knowing strength is power, is soft. I can choose my life within, each awakening a return to self-love. Knowing my touch is soothing, is healing. I will not be forced to love, each caress my choice to give. Once upon a time, I was maiden, young, excited, full of possibilities. Today is the first day of the rest. Then I became a mother, not defined by giving birth, but by caring, protective, patient, and now crone. Not old, but elder, expanded with experience to share in the past burned at the stake by fear. Fear of one who heals with gifts of herbs, communes with weather and animals, knowing the song of dreams and moon. Not magic, but miraculous. Today, evolution marches forward, backwards, with the need to control, to stifle, to erase. Do not mistake my smile as consent. Do not mistake my silence as approval. Accept the truth. I am not less. I am more. So that's Seed of Power. Thank you. The second one I'm going to read is lighter. So I wanted to give a little balance here, and weird. And it's inspired by the film Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas from 1998. I wrote it right after that, so blame that film. It's called Fear and Loathing in the Writer's Den. To write or not to write, she couldn't find the words to start. Come, let's play, her lover pleaded, while her characters fell flat. She looked down at delicate, furry feet. No fingers clutched the wrinkled paper, but paws of matching gray fur as the story plot began to dissolve. Perhaps she should just write the outline. If only she had a beginning. Tapioca pudding lapped at her paws. There was a snap of leather behind her. She gnawed the end of a broken pencil with surprisingly large front teeth. This wasn't right. Not at all. This story was not coming together. Her lover chirped at her. Perhaps a little diversion would help. Pulling at her satin corset, it occurred to her that a writer's life was crazy. Fear and Loathing in the Writer's Den. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Next, we've got Jacqueline Johnson, a multidisciplined artist creating in poetry, fiction writing, and fiber arts. She's the author of A Woman's Season on Main Street Rag Press and A Gathering of Mother Tongues, published by White Pine Press. Her work has appeared in This Is the Honey, an anthology of contemporary Black poets. Dear Yusef, essays, letters, and poems for and about one Mr. Komunyakaa and Baby Suggs and a Purple Butterfly. Welcome, Jackie.
Thank you, Akua. So glad to be here. I appreciate this invitation that, I think we got it like almost a year ago, but here we are. That's the blessing. All right, Cosmic Rhythms. cylindrical view of the double-sided, Mother, Daughter, and the Holy Ghost, African ox circumference centuries, through rumble of zigzag, yin-yang, DNA dance, a double helix, splendid thread, life wraps around, ancient path the goddess travels, circle within, the circle within, magnificent twirling that turns women into mothers. Look again could be a sombrero of Saturn's many rings. See the dervish whirling, bringing with him a wisdom that is always out of bounds. Blank of an iris blessed with vision. Oh, take me on the road which spirals round and round, round and round. A galaxy of wombs teeming with life. In a corner, smooth black Oreo. This great tit humanity feeds from. And this is from these are from the poems I'm reading right now from A Woman's Season. The next poem I'm reading is Oriki for George Washington Carver. And the Oriki is a poetic form that comes out of Nigeria. It's a praise form. So here we go. Scientist, naturalist, herbalist, creator, synthesizer, experimenter, son of the woods, son of the earth, just born son of slavery, just born son of freedom. And you, the wildest weed, quickens and reveals its meaning. Divine sight, indivisible, dance of mitosis. Only you could see 300 ways to use a peanut. Only you could find 200 properties of yams. Your father wit most attuned to sharecroppers, women and children of the fields. Season, experimenter, 1 year planted cotton, next year you planted yams. Crop rotation is land medicine, interplay of rhythmic pulses. Polished Tuskegee man, you look happiest in overalls, tweed jacket, applejack, your gaze cast over a field, herbs in hand, listening to the orchestra of all living things. Green Symphony. I am the water's daughter, longing to know her hidden ways. Always curious, I swim uncharted waters. Ancient mirror reflects my truth. Thin bands of God's green, dried leaves, mixed with loam of several generations. Wild fields of corn, white sage and lavender. A flock of blue jays, arcs of bird wing. Angels in the mist, incessant cacophony, more urban each second. Silence than sound of the open road. All around bivouacs, tributaries of a wild rushing thing. For miles, green symphony fills my eyes, yet the water rules here. Her muddy residue coats my feet. Unpredictable mingling of wind and water. Her rhythm slow, rippling silver, mischievous. At the water's edge, I hesitate, almost fearful. In up to my shoulders, hair glistening. I am the warder's daughter, unable to deny pull of ivory half moons, seasons, to resist music and currents of waves centuries old. Her unruly, imperfect, many-sided child. Here I know exactly who I am, fecund, stubborn, and always in trouble. Out of bounds at last, I kick into the deep brown waters. And the last poem, The Healing. Fire of mental synaptic magic, of birthing rebirth, remembering before the womb, the kindling of dreams, August wool of words, fire of a multi-soul filled people, blue flames of a blind woman's vision, fire of the Holy Ghost in every corner, fiber of wood, cell of my being, fire that cleanses, shines right up to my soul. That's it for this cycle. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Miguel O. Mitchell, PhD, is a Black speculative poet, SFF author, and retired chemist. His poems have appeared in Amazing Stories, Dreams and Nightmares, Eye to the Telescope, Sci-Fi QS, Scarlet Dragonfly Journal, and the year's Best African Speculative Fiction. His poem, Wine Tasting on the Planet, Ufahamu, received honorable mention in the 2024 SFPA Poetry Contest. He's been co-editor of the 2023 Dwarf Stars Anthology and will be its editor in 2025. He's part of the Sauti Collective, writing poems for a shared universe based on African languages and cultural elements. He runs a monthly online speculative poetry workshop sponsored by the Baltimore Science Fiction Society and has also presented this as a training workshop in person and online at the Science Fiction and Fantasy Conventions Cap Club, and maybe it's Cap Clave, and
Catclave.
Capclave, Clave, like
Yeah.
autoclave.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Capclave, thank you very much. And Balticon, welcome, Miguel.
Thank you, Akua. It's fantastic to be here. It's a thrill. It's really great. So what I'm going to do is read a couple of poems to start from my book, Cerealia. And the first section of the poems are numbered. So this is poem number 19. Elephantine wet eyes float lazily in a broken sky. A four-color theorem patchwork. Papier-mâché clouds drift by on fire. As thunder rumbles in our brains, soft, present, enough. Occasional tears rain down. We catch them on our tongues. They taste just like the view. And number 20, Eastern Continental Preserve, a chittermink named Teep Teep, no taller than my knee, like a talking squirrel with a lot on their mind, leads me by the hand and narrates. Max, look at the mirror lopes racing across the orange sponge field, blinding flashes from metallic hides, steel-whipped tails snapping behind them, blue-white sparking joy. Don't stare at the reflections. You might see unwanted truths. And now we enter the jumble. See it ahead? It expects us to hold the beat as we glide inside. Follow my paw rhythm. Pa 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 pa. In the non-distance, exploding from the soil, bubblacious silt, they are living to boil. Foaming skin ruptures, existence is in motion, sphere of plastic swells, effervescent devotion. Next, see the Zinclaw, whose shifting spinning platters consume rocks and stones, leaving gemstones and shatters. Last, spy the Felure, like giants in old earth tales. Voices boom with pride, singing wonder with bass wails. Now this tour's done, Max. I hope you return often, for the jumble path, reason's edges will soften. I waved farewell to Teep Teep as they transformed from a furry companion to a willowy phantasm to, what was I talking about? And my last one for this section, I'm going to read an unpublished poem I think is great for today, which is called Juneteenth. Buried neath my brown skin, the genes of resilience and resistance. Exochattel erupted with extrasolar expansion. Corporations consumed, conquered, care crushed. Alien species displayed in zoos for the ultra-rich. Broken bodies mined their own worlds for our bottom line, till the war began. The word abolitionist, so old it was archaic. We painted it on our ships, inked it across our backs, but there was no need. It was printed in our DNA. Retrofitted wrecks, ravaged, reckoning released. Our spies silenced superiority with selective savagery. A wave of freedom propagated at the speed of folded space. Then the edge of the corporate empire crumbled under our boot. the last lingering lost ones on an unnamed planet, our Galveston, Texas. Our troops made their way across the continents, sliced through the neural net oppression, the free will silencer, announced in 1,000 xenotongues that you are no longer enslaved. When we left to go home, to see our families and to mourn our dead, I sat in my cabin and drank something red.
Wow. Thank you. I'm a grandmaster of fantastic poetry, whose collections Otherwares was awarded in Elgin. I edited the history-making first anthology of BIPOC speculative poetry, Nom Bono, which you can read for free online or buy and hold from Amazon. I edit the largest SpecPo collection on the sea for Eye to the Telescope and created an ongoing speculative Valentine's Day poetry page. I've been in print since 1974 with over 500 poems published, and my honors include the NEA, NIFA, and NISCA awards. My speculative fiction can be found in the groundbreaking Dark Matter, along with Linden, right? And pace-setting Africa Risen. It's wonderful to share space with all the people you see here with me this evening. Recent work appears also in Bestiary of Blood, Nature Triumphs, Black Joy Unbound, Blackfire This Time, About Place Journal, edited by Jacqueline Johnson. See the connections. May the circle be unbroken. And the year's best, African speculative fiction with Miguel. So thank you, among others. Portal. I can send you my too big shirt, my uneaten romaine lettuce, and unplanted seeds. You can help me weed my yard, wheel me to consuming bush so I can reach. A respite from too early cold for me and from searing Saharan heat for you. See the wet Shamong River rise as I watch sand dune shifts. Mediate threats that encroach. A vacation for us both from neighbors who wage war on us. Cattle thieves, where your settlement is under siege, and my bullet-ridden house bleeds. Care packages raided by porch thieves. Chant with me, oh distant friend, this right adjusting frequency. Open our inner temples. We will heal, wound by wound, this transition portal. As Yemaya. When I was paralyzed, my two legs felt as one, sparking something that began below my waist, disconnected from my will. They floated on their own in a sea of perception, embraced everywhere, sensate and sinuous. I swam up from brokenness into dream, darting in 3 dimensions, as unafraid of up as down, as skillful with left as right. My great lungs fill with air, my long arms lengthen, strengthen with each sure stroke as I plunge toward my sister, pink and black leatherback turtle who does not blink as we match motions and dance. And all around me light from water crossing foremothers who did not fly, but swam and sang across hidden valleys and buried mountains as humpbacks do, all around the globe at once in a chorus of continuance, history sharing like right whales who survived their Holocaust, carry memory for hundreds of years, outlive generations of miscreants and murderers, unforgotten wounds, now mere tattoos and testament to what endures. And they told me, though land forsakes, consigns me to the chair, wheels me in the corner, beyond the edge, water, boys, and welcomes, and her wide board crinolined flippers gleam in dusk, sparkle at dawn, flare at midday, beckon remembrance as she sirens return as Yemaya. Thank you. And now we'll circle around again in this ever unending circle with Linda Addison.
Yeah, I need this. I needed the magic button from you to unmute. No worries. So I'm going to read two poems. This one is a book, a poem inspired by a story I wrote that was about a vampire and from the Dark Thursday anthology. And I just fell in love with the characters, so I wrote a poem for her too, or she gave me a poem. It's called How Her Garden Grows. Adina hums as she digs in the earth, moonlight spilling over her hands. Like her name in African, she has saved. Someone waits under the dirt. She was a first, ancient and beautiful. He was remade by her desire to play for a while before returning to dust. The endless earth is her oldest companion. All humans, sweet food. But on occasion, before their final breath, she trickled her blood into one, planted them deep. She smiles as the earth gives way to her latest crop. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. She does her part to recycle. How her garden grows. So the second poem I'm going to read, and that poem and this poem is in my collection, How to Recognize a Demon Has Become Your Friend, because, entertaining and you need to know. So I'm reading a poem, which is the opening piece in that collection called How to Recognize a Demon Has Become Your Friend. They won't cross the threshold to your home without a spoken invitation, snarling when you ask if they will go to church with you. You find strange patterns drawn in chalk under your bed after they have visited. Your pets suddenly begin to disappear. They ask for your firstborn as a birthday gift, avoiding the mirrors in your house, saying they're having a bad hair day. You dream you ran away with them to the circus of lost souls. Upon waking, you see red circus tents on the horizon. They begin to smell like sulfur. giggling when you tell them someone has died in your family. They take you to the crossroads at midnight for a party. You offer your soul as a door prize. How to recognize a demon has become your friend.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you. But I'm just saying, folks, pay attention. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I am duly warned. We are duly warned.
Absolutely.
Thank
Yep.
you. Dear Jacqueline.
All right. I'm going to read a series of poems that were published in different anthologies. Goddess, 19th century. Except for light, her nether shadow cast over my shoulder. Who knows of her existence? Fragment of torn leaf, dart humming of a threaded spindle. The three of you were a kind of trinity, driving Joe Studebaker from Detroit to Chicago, all the way down the Mason-Dixon line to John's Island, to teach children of the fields and sea. A two-room free school by day, and nursing and healing station at night. Hands electric catch the rain running through every pore. Thoughts plentiful as pomegranate seeds, quicken and root with the highest prayer. Shifting among restless nuclei, she searches for cures, medicines to tame the body's cravings. Years later, at ocean's edge, she stands arms akimbo, listening to sonorous call, undertow of waves. And years ago, I learned of an enslaved, then free man called Venture Smith, who lived in the coastal communities of Connecticut. This is called Looking for Venture Smith. Imagine the Surrey empty and rusted, your favorite blue and white plates in hundreds of pieces, one of Chloe's shoes unbroken in what used to be your living room floor. What would you think of your old office, once filled with shillings, pounds, where Solomon kept his ledgers and small bottles of rum and port, now site of nuclear silos and electrical fences? What survives a life is an eclectic mix. Hannah's perfume bottles, smooth stones of your private wharf, outline of a blacksmith shop, and a half dozen old nails. Those scientists whom play in the dirt say stones of pink crystal and tourmaline are remnants of your Nkisi left by the door. Venture, myth was you were 6 feet tall and 6 feet wide, lifting stone or oxen like blades of sweetgrass. You were larger than life, using your prowess with money to free your wife and children, purchase land, freedom of others. Brotier, you were so cruel. They say someone back to their masters rather than work for you. We're so frugal, swam clammy cold Connecticut River rather than pay for a ferry. Abraham, the local historian, asks, what is the position of your water wells? Black people, he says, built small wells in these parts. And this is called Wild Child. And I think you'll figure out who it is. Thank you. Basquiat, you are forever 27. The many ways you wrote upon canvas, family trees mixed with Congo crosses, glyphs and incantations of every weary Black man. Faces a Legua inhabited, that bluest Black man, bulging eyes wrapped upon life, baring his teeth upon the hoary land, could be grinning, could be screaming, drawing and redrawing that squarish head covered in dreadlocks onto concrete walls, train stops, and storefronts. The surface did not matter, only that you left your sign. Everything was fuel, everything. And I'll close with this last poem. It's called The Malaika Dance in My Shoes. And in Swahili, the Malaika is a word for African angels. Language came to the door, wearing fuchsia shoes and 3 centi red braids. Language sashayed to the door and opened another door and another door and another. As endless kink in my hair unraveled, language banged on the door, baring her buck teeth, cursing the hell out of me. Shoeless, wearing a chartreuse lace boo-boo, spraying me with wisdom's juju jive. And I was alone but not lonely, turning the great nothing they gave me into a world, a real world. Discovering the simplest loves can be a whole life. Transcendent change makers, code switchers, make fools out of themselves, hungry for love's discernment. Who gave away all the wine? Is that local water on the table? I try not to eat the bitter seeds from the bitter past. Language jumped inside my shoes like the Malika, whispering, find anything new, even something half used, to begin again, to begin again. Lord, what does it mean to begin again? As I wander into a new self, become a different woman, do not erase me with anger. Do not erase me with blindness. Do not erase me with judgment, hive of 1,000 bee wings, buzzing a lifetime of regrets. Do not erase me with those who know nothing of love, of equanimity or grace. Do not erase me with the acts of the cowardly. Do not erase me with those who fear their mother's truth. Do not erase my light. Do not erase me. Do not erase me. Do not erase me. Thank you.
Yes, 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 yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Miguel
Okay.
Mitchell.
All right. So I'm going to do the poem that was mentioned by Akua first, which is the one that got the honorable mention, Wine Testing on the Planet Ufahamu, which is Swahili for understanding or awareness. Vintage from green exograpes of a genetically superior vine. Aroma of berries with a hint of rot. Notes of burnt homes, metal chains, and vanilla. Barren and nihilistic mouthfeel with a self-loathing finish. Vintage from blood grapes of a shade-grown vine. Aroma of coffee with a hint of tear gas. Notes of anguish, bitter losses, and citrus. Silky, shameful mouthfeel with a deja vu finish. Vintage from purple exograpes of a full sun-grown vine. Aroma of peach with a hint of reflux. Notes of bruised ego, acceptance, and allspice. Smooth, satisfactory mouthfeel with a clarity finish. And the next one I'm going to read is actually, I'm going to have to share my screen because it's an ekphrastic poem. So let me do that. And it's actually a painting that I did, and it's called Sunset on Another World. So now let me read my poem. Of course, now it's not going to let me read my poem. Let me just see. Okay, if that doesn't work, stop share. Try this again. Going to see. Now you can see it. That means I can minimize this. There you go. You guys can still see the painting? Good. All right, so here we are. The primary sun descends and pours. The sky fills with an orange batter baked into a mottled brown ginger cake with a cloud layer crumb coat. The night drapes a blue-violet cape. Beneath this cloak, far sister sun and close brother moon pretend to be chummy, just smugly photobombing, faux friends in the southwest horizon. Auburn-stained mountains reach up like fat fingers as a titan drapes the entire range, an amoeba gargantua propelled by gliding horse-sized cilia, Thousands of beating hearts, sector chiefs for this bio-empire. Translucent skin, a rippling, breathing bellows of living industry. Giant green chloroplast occupants, anchored in their cytoskeletal condos, pay oxygen rent to the landlord, whose twin antennae tilt solemnly toward the setting sun. On the light-dappled river below, peace is shattered by a motorboat's roar, speeding away from this glory. No time for tranquility. Loudly announce, I'm here, that noisy dust speck, so desperate to matter, more, always more. And lastly, I'm going to read this one because I love this poem and I'm trying to find a place for it. It's called Justice. Scent of burnt flesh, orange rum, stride forth Zinja, bang the drum, towering on steel rods bare, pierce the clouds and screech the air, half machine and half undead. Oh, where am I? Sorry. Necromagic, techno dread, call to punish wicked deeds. Tyrants flee, on souls it feeds. That was my idea of, oh, yeah, it would be great if someone had a little poem like that they could remember when they were in trouble and people were being mean to them and bring forth something monstrous.
Thank you. Thank you, Miguel. It very much reminds me of what we're going to engage in for the season of October as our days shorten and the night lengthens. And wow, this hour has gone swiftly by. So I will read one poem and then I wanted to end with words of another elder. So until I said words to you until I didn't have to, until my breath, sigh, smile, or posture said everything. How the tea required reheating, when to reuse the bag, wipe the table, wash the dishes, gather or fold clothes from the dryer, when to place them in sun, when we had a yard and a clothesline, so many actions of love and the scent of sheets from that time of green grass, Afro dandelions, breezes only hinted at in fading black and white, when delicious words were still used and needed, measuredly dispensed as Fig Newtons rationed to preclude tummy aches. No hyperboles of intrusion, as all were greeted with an offer of something to eat or drink. For all our very little, there was mostly more than enough an hour before we will be free, wearing Pleiadian star suits and eat nothing but light until. And I will end with this, which is by another honored poetic ancestor of us all, Gwendolyn Brooks. I wanted to share this time as we think of our first, we think of one of our greatest. And this is the second sermon on the Warpland by Gwendolyn Brooks for Walter Bradford. 1. This is the urgency. Live and have your blooming in the noise of the whirlwind. 2. Salvage in the spin, endorse the splendor splashes, stylize the flawed utility, prop a malign or failing light, but know the whirlwind is our commonwealth, not the easy man who rides above them all, not the jumbo brigand, not the pet bird of poets that sweetest sonnet shall straddle the whirlwind. Nevertheless, live. 3. All about are the cold places. All about are the pushmen and jeopardy, theft. All about are the stormers and scramblers. But what must our season be, which starts from fear? Live and go out, define and medicate the whirlwind. 4. The time cracks into furious flower, lift its face all unashamed, and sways in wicked grace, whose half black hands assemble oranges, is tom-tom hearted, goes in bearing oranges and boom. And there are bells for orphans, and red and shriek and sheen. A garbage man is dignified as any diplomat. Big Bessie's feet hurt like nobody's business, but she stands bigly under the unruly scrutiny, stands in the wild weed. In the wild weed, she is a citizen and is a moment of highest quality, admirable. It is lonesome, yes, for we are the last of the loud. Nevertheless, live, conduct your blooming in the noise and the whip of the whirlwind. From In the Mecca by Gwendolyn Brooks. Gwendolyn Brooks on
Wonderful.
I thank you all for being here. We have a few moments left. Should any of our audience want to ask any questions or comments? And I'm looking at the chat to see if that should happen. And if not, the 4 of us can also go around and say thank you. Thank you all for joining on this Black Poetry Day. I'm delighted to be in community and concert with such fabulous, undeterred creators. So
Thank you
any
so much.
questions? No questions. Oh my gosh, that's really amazing. I don't want to cut off there as they cogitate, as they think. Um, and let's do this. What's up next? I know Linda's got the forthcoming collaboration with Jamal Hodge. Is
Yes, and so excited because even though it's a collection of poetry, it's really one orchestrated piece. So I'm looking forward to it.
oh,
Nice.
whoa, oh, there is a new message.
Oh, everyone's chapbook's publishing. I see.
Each piece was so beautiful. Oh, yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Repeat everyone's chapbooks, published pieces, where to find your work. Absolutely. So, Linda, please repeat where to find your work.
Well, I'm just going to put my site here, Linda Addison Writer. And maybe can we maybe share in a comment afterwards or something? Like each were because mine are different places, but the last two were in a collection of mine called How to Recognize a Demon Has Become Your Friend. Once again, entertaining and informative.
Jacqueline is in many places. Do you want to mention a few for people to find you?
I'm in an anthology called This is the Honey. It's edited by Kwame Alexander. And I'm in a brand new anthology that's dedicated to the voices of baby Suggs from Beloved. And it's called Baby Suggs and Purple Butterfly on Get Fresh Books.
Is
And
that with Cherise
yeah,
Francis?
yeah,
Oh, she's so wonderful.
That's
yeah.
great.
She's
Oh,
such a wonderful
wonderful.
community worker. Yes.
I got to inhabit the voice of Baby Suggs.
Whoa.
Mm-mm-mm.
Very,
Ooh, I know that's a voice.
That's
That
great.
is,
That's a
very
voice.
deep into me. But it's
is it out now?
it is out now. If you go to Get Fresh Books
Get
and
fresh books.
Get Fresh Books, you'll see it under Baby Suggs and a Purple Butterfly, edited by Cherise Francis. That's I think that's worth supporting and lifting up. And Akua,
Absolutely.
I just want to thank you for your continued uh, uh, devotion to Black poetry, Black speculative poetry. And I want to thank you for always remembering me, you know. Um,
You're
How
unforgettable.
could we forget
You're,
you?
yes, I
Total,
mean, I'm
total.
like, come on.
My inspiration. What you
Oh my
talking
gosh.
about?
Yes.
you'd be surprised with these vampires and Dracula folk out here.
I, 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 un,
Just
I,
recognize them demons. I'm just saying.
I,
Yes,
I,
Mhm.
I
I won't call
understand.
them by name, but I do know.
I understand.
I just put the link to Get Fresh Books in the chat too. If
Mm,
anyone wants to copy that, you can go look up and then look up Jacqueline Johnson's name.
yeah.
And
And
Miguel,
I put the link to Cerealia in the
okay.
chat as well. And I
Oh
also
my God.
coming up this year is Sauti Terrors, which is the next collection from the Sauti verse. And I have a poem in there, and it's a wonderful collection. So please check that
Yeah.
out when it comes out. I'll
Yeah,
put
I
that.
have a poem in there too.
And
Yeah,
I
It's so
do
exciting.
too. And I do
yeah.
It's so
too.
exciting to write in these worlds
In these
created
other worlds. Thank you.
based off of African stuff. Stop it. You know,
So
look at
to
this.
Universo.
Yeah. Look at
Let's
that.
And
see.
I'm in that collection also with
What
Linda.
is that? What is that?
Bestiary
It's
Bestiary,
called
Blood.
Bestiary of Blood, of an exciting concept by Jamal Hodge,
it's a beautiful book, honestly.
Linda's
Come on.
collaborator.
Look,
He
poetry.
Yeah.
He gave the poetry this beautiful framing,
frame.
Oh, lovely border.
Nice,
Wow.
and each story has like a graphic it's just gorgeous. It's a keeper forever. I
nice.
find the link.
It's 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 wonderful. It was an exciting project. Bestiary, we all take took different animals and insects, etc., and explored their psyches and their beings.
Okay. I, I'm going to write a poem to the yellow jacket that's currently flying around in my kitchen.
Oh my goodness. See, it's like
It's got a message for you.
it,
Do it.
it's like
Do it.
it's like that. It's like that.
Yeah.
And now it's 8:01. How swiftly the time passes. Blessings
Uh,
to you all. Peace to you all. Joy
Peace
mm.
to
to you
you.
all. Happy Black Poetry Day. Thank you for being here. And remember your creators. Support us because we're here for you. We are because you are.
And thank you for being the way, Akua. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you
My
for leading this,
joy,
Akua.
my honor. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.